Yes, of
Welcome,
course.
Miguel.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here. Yes, my name is Miguel Cordova and I am Associate Professor of Management at Pontificia Universidad Catolica del Peru in Lima. I teach the courses of sustainable supply chain management, control management, and sometimes operations management. And some of my research interests are sustainability, sustainable supply chain management, the field of power and influence in organizations also, and corporate governance. So it's wonderful to have you here to listen what I brought. I don't know, Isabel, if it's okay to begin right now.
Yeah. All yours.
Great. Okay, so maybe I can share my screen. Okay, this is a very brief presentation. I wanted to talk to you about this regional project here in Latin America that is entitled Multi-Stakeholders Post-COVID-19 Recovery, How to Rebuild Business and Society in Latin America and the Caribbean in order to avoid a climate crisis. And specifically, I am going to talk about the regenerative and sustainable futures for Peru. That is one of the outcomes, one of the results for the study. But before to begin with this topic, to go deep in this topic, I wanted to ask you, personally, if when you are confronting these times of crisis, for instance, in your personal life or in your country or in your community, are you putting yourself in a positive scenario or a moderating scenario, or maybe in a negative one? I mean, what do you prefer? To think about how bad things could come, or to think how positive could be this scenario? According to some psychological studies, most of the people, I think more than 70% of the people, puts themselves into this positive or moderate scenarios all the time. It's really hard for us to think about negative scenarios. We do not prefer to think about those, and we prefer to move to this positive outcomes. To expect the best for the scenarios. So, and this is really interesting because in daily life, in the real world, every scenario could be possible to happen. So if we are constantly putting ourselves in the best scenario possible, in the best possible scenario, we probably are losing some opportunities to think about contingency plans, or to think about what we could prepare for these negative scenarios that are also possible to happen. Okay. So this is my what I've been reflecting about this project. And okay, that's the context, the background that we are right now. Actually, as you probably know, every decision and action that we may take can build or trace a different possible scenario in the future. So this is the Global Compact, as you know, of the United Nations for the year 2030. And it consists in these 17 sustainable development goals, right? And we all know that these 17 sustainable development goals are the main concerns in the world that need to be tackled. And when we were trying to overcome these issues, these global concerns, it appeared the COVID-19. It suddenly appeared the COVID-19, and we all know what the COVID-19 did for our society, right? It was actually devastating for our society's foundations, and the disruptions in the economic, in the social way, and in all supply chains and global value chains were huge. So the big question here, and that's where our project born, is how we get into this kind of of balance between the economic recovery and climate change. Before actually, we have this climate change concerns, and that were huge concerns about how the climate is going to change in the following years. And now we have the problem of economic recovery in all over the world. But some countries and some organizations are thinking that they have to recover, economically recover, leaving behind or getting aside some of the previous strategies of climate change for climate change mitigation and adaptation that they were following. So if they put aside this kind of climate change initiatives and just think about economic recovery, we are going to have a bigger problem, for the future. So this is our main concern right now, and the project is based in this kind of in this concern, and that is why the project departs from this research question: how to recover economic systems in the society while promoting decent work and economic growth. That is the SDG number 8, considering the need for mitigation and adaptation to climate change, SDG 13. So we need to do both things, not just one, right? And we get together with some other universities in the region. Here is the University of Monterrey in Mexico, Universidad in Colombia, UPB in Bolivia, Universidad de Chile in Chile, FGV in Brazil, Pontificia Catolica del Peru in Peru, and University of West Indies in Jamaica. And we get together with this, between these 7 universities to find how could be the future of the region according to what is happening today, and according to what our experts and many factions on our society right now are thinking about the future of the economic systems, and together with the climate change concern. And actually, we found really interesting results that I'm going to present to you today. Okay, previously I wanted to acknowledge, actually this project was funded by the Center of the Sustainable Development Goals in Latin America. And our regional project is Professor Maria Alejandra González Pérez in Universidad in Colombia. And we were 7 researchers, 1 per each country, and we all have research assistants for the project. Here is the Peru team. Fatima Guaman, Ruth Pogosino, and Thais Liñán were my research assistants. And also the project in Peru received the fund of the Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú. That this was like a complementary fund, just to complement the expenses. And okay, here's the method that we used. We used the methodology of future scenarios, using this future thinking approach, and this all comes from the Institute for the Future in California. And I put this logo of this well-recognized movie, this Back to the Future. I'm sorry, because this methodology is something similar. You have to get some pieces or some scrums or some signals of from the past and from the current time, in order for you to set how things are moving to the future. And with these scrums or with these signs, you can create some narratives about specific scenarios, but not just the positive ones. With these scrums, you can also create some negative scenarios that are possible to happen in the future. So we build these narratives of the scenarios, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 scenarios, according to what you have from these signs, these current signs. And after that, you can begin to ask different questions to the experts or to some kind of audience about what they feel about these scenarios, if they are actually think that these scenarios are come to be real, and what they think it's necessary to achieve these scenarios in the case of the positive ones, and what is necessary to avoid those scenarios in the case of the negative ones. Okay, so and okay, in this project we in order to find these scrums or these signals, we did this extended literature review about crisis management mainly. Then we conduct a desk research where we set these goals and responses for each of these 7 countries in Latin America. And finally, and this is maybe the center of the project, we conduct multi-stakeholders workshop in each country. We have conducted 4 workshops in each country, including 4 different types of stakeholders from the society: civil society faction, academe, business, and government. So we get together all these stakeholders in one workshop that is designed using this future scenarios method towards the year 2030, that that's the year about that we need to accomplish some of these sustainable development goals.
Excuse me, can you repeat?
Yes.
Civic society, stakeholders, government, and what was the last one?
Yeah, civil society, academia.
Academia.
Yeah, business and government.
Business and
yeah, each workshop included almost 12 people, I think, maybe 2 or 3 from each of these factions. Okay, so we map this 4 scenarios. As you can see here, we have in the left, in this vertical line, we have this socioeconomic recovery from the worst scenario to the better. And in the horizontal line here, we have the resilience to climate change and biodiversity loss from the worst scenario to the better scenario. And of course, we have this scenario 1 when we expect that the socioeconomic recovery would be better, and also the resilience to climate change. And we have the scenario number 3, where the things comes worst, a worse socioeconomic recovery and a worse resilience to climate change. And scenario 2 and scenario 4 are like the moderate scenarios. And we designed this kind of workshop, and I know Marina is going to identify this kind of design, because we conduct a similar workshop in the previous AIB conference with her. We designed this using the Miro platform. We designed how our participants is going to contribute to the narratives of these possible scenarios. They have to write how could be the conditions, or how could be the life in the city, in the country, using these 4 scenarios. Okay, we ask them to contribute for the 4 scenarios, and they begin to create some narratives about what they think about how things are going to be in each of these scenarios. And then we provided them with this timeline in order for them to put some strategic events, special events that they think that they have to take place in order to reach those scenarios. Even with the negative ones, we did the same. I mean, for instance, we have the scenario 3, that is the most negative one. And we ask them what kind of events they think that they have to have, that they need to happen if this scenario could be real. Okay, so that was a good exercise among our participants. This is the picture of just one of the workshops. The participants were able to contribute in the Miro board, in this platform, writing, but also they have the opportunity to contribute talking, expressing their feelings and expressing their opinions, and all sessions were recorded. And then we used another methodology, to systematize the information from the workshop, the information that is written and the information of the opinions of the participants. And the same was made in each country, in each of these 7 countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. And this is what we found in Peru. Okay, we found basically common concerns between the many other countries in the region, but also we find specific concerns about how to recover business and society considering the climate change concern. Okay. Here in this left column, we have some public policy groups. We have identified important public policy group to develop, for instance, to reinforce feed systems and health, to promote an education for sustainability, to move to clean and renewable energy, to centralize the country, and to shift this traditional extractive mindset, you know, the natural resource extractive mindset. Some of these public policy groups are similar to other countries, and they are well recognized issues for all of us. For instance, that we need to reinforce the food systems. For instance, that we need, of course, clean energy and renewable energy. But in some other cases, they are very specific for the country. Our education plan, or national education plan, does not include yet a sustainability perspective. And this is a very problematic for us. You know, this is very serious. Point number 4, for instance, refer that we need to decentralize the country, and we are living in Peru a situation that is very particular because we have this Lima city. That is the capital city that includes more than 30% of the population. Okay, it has more than 30 million people. I'm sorry. The population in Peru is 30 million, and Lima city has more than 10 million people. Okay, 10 million people. And the second biggest city in the country, that is Arequipa, it has 1.5 million people. Wow. That is it. So the difference, the difference is huge, you know, so we need to decentralize. All the opportunities are actually in Lima. You know, the best jobs and the biggest companies are in Lima, and all the political power is concentrated in Lima. So we need to decentralize the country. And of course, the point number 5 is about the stop or to change this kind of natural resources extractive mindset that is focused on our economy, that was focused in our economy from several years. And this is mainly the most important contribution of the study. In this right column, we identified some primary considerations in order to include many of these stakeholders in the public policy groups, because actually we did some efforts in the past to implement and to design some public policy about these issues. But so the problem maybe is not how to implement or to move forward with public policies. The big question here is what these public policies have to include in order to know left behind nobody, you know, and to include every stakeholders in the society. For example, if we think about how to reinforce this feed systems and health, we just not to think only in what who are going to receive this service or these feed systems. We think about, for instance, in farmers' livelihoods. What we are going to do if this public policy is harmful for their sustenance, for their livelihoods, for their current lifestyle. You know, they want to be farmers and they love to be farmers. They need their fields, you know, in good conditions, and they need for us to respect their territory and their natural conditions, and so on and so on. So the public policy is not to be complete if we do not, if we are not able to include these farmers' livelihoods in the public policy. And also, of course, we have a huge biodiversity. and we use this biodiversity to encourage the food systems in the country, but it's not going to be sustainable if we do not see, if we do not look for this biodiversity conservation, and if we do not differentiate where this biodiversity comes and why it's important to protect this biodiversity in some regions than others, okay? And probably it's almost the same for every of these public policy. They have primary considerations. For instance, here, the shift extractive mindset. All we know that Peru is like a champion in mining, you know. But if we want to shift the extractive mindset, we need to consider that we need to measure this environmental potential damage for new investments, you know, because if we are moving from a destructive mindset to a more added value mindset, probably, and this already happened in the past, probably these new industries or this new technology are not measuring what are the damage that this is causing to the environment. So we need, again, we need to embrace this kind of trade-offs in the most positive way, looking for economic recovery and also for the protection of the environment and to mitigate the climate change effects in the country. And I think that's it, Isabel. I don't want to extend so much on this, but we can talk about this all you want. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. And what I'm thinking, Miguel, is that we start with a minute where everybody writes into the chat their questions, and then everybody can read them out loud, but that way we get dumped all the questions at once, and then we can deal, you can manage them as you want, okay? So
yes,
if everybody takes a moment and writes into the chat what's either a comment or a question that you have for Miguel. Hello, Amelia, it's good to see you.
Hi, sorry I'm late. I got problems connecting.
You're there, that's the important thing.
Hello, Amelia.
Hi, Miguel.
You wait a moment, Miguel, until we have all the questions, and then we can take them, okay? Okay. So, Miguel, if you want to, up to you how you want to manage this. If you want the author of the question read it out loud, it's up to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Isabel. Yes, I'm going to move forward with the questions in the same order that were did. So I have this first questions from Yolande about if this work have been published anywhere. Yes, actually I have one slide that we decided not to share today, but I have it about the diffusion. Yes, we write because this Center of the Sustainable Development Goals, that is COTS in Spanish, was our sponsor. We write a report for them that they are going to publish by the end of this year, I guess by December. But this is in Spanish actually, and this is a report about a specific report for recommendations to design public policies in Latin America and the Caribbean. Okay, but also we write a book. Yes, Emerald Publishing accept us a complete book, you know, with a chapter for each country and some other chapters that synthesize all the results for the region. For instance, the chapter for Peru is chapter 11, and this book is going to be published by January of the next year. So probably this could be the best to cite, you know, because it includes each of the country's results and the regional results as a whole. And it is in English. This book is in English.
Do you have the way to cite it? Do you have the title of the book, something that you can put into the chat?
Yes, of course. I can share with you in a minute the exact citation. Yes.
Okay, or you send it to us later, either way, but that would
great.
help.
Yeah, thank you. And also we have submitted, and here's an interesting thing. We find that we could approach this topic from the futures studies methodology perspective in order to foresee these futures strategies for climate resilient business in Latin America. And we submitted this paper. We already submitted this paper to the journal called Futures. And we are writing another paper for the other perspective. I mean, the other way, from the business perspective, and how business could be like, what challenges they are facing right now in order to move forward with this sustainability concern, with this climate change resilient requirements or needs from the society. And yes, we were writing this paper and we aimed for this climate policy journal. And that's it. That's it about publications. Let me see the next question. It's from you, Isabel, and it's were these results similar in other participating countries? What did happen as a result, or what action will be taken? Yes, some results were similar. I mean, we all know that we have to decarbonize countries, you know, and we have these NDCs, these national determined contributions in each country towards the Paris Agreement, and we need to contribute to these national determined contributions. But each country has specific results according to its reality, you know. Maybe one of the most interesting results, that we have, and this result was like beneath the surface. that we usually see in this sustainable and climate change issue is that we found common patterns about how the colonialism was affected these countries in order to shape their resilient capacity to face climate change effects. So we found that this colonialism mindset, this colonialism past, have a strong emphasis in our traditional mindsets of how to see the economy and how to see the collaboration initiatives. So find collaboration in Latin America is hard. And we find, according to our desk research and according to our workshops with our participants, that our past have to do with this. I mean, we have in all our Latin American countries, we have this past of serious inequalities between classes, between social classes or between economic classes. Mm-hmm. And these differences, these gaps continues until these days. Mm. And this is a big constraint in order to find collaboration within the population. Mm. So yeah. So this is what we found, and that, I mean, we did not write any specific about this, but in the book, yes, but not in a paper yet. And this is to answer one of the questions that comes from Marina. Mm. Our next step is to begin to highlight these interesting issues that we find and to extend it more. We did not expect to find this issue of the colonialist past, and now we find it. We want to follow and to do research about it a little bit more. And let me see here. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Marina, our plan, I mean, as I was saying, is to highlight these special points, these strategic points of our research, and to turn them into this paths for future research and follow them. This is one example that I'm giving to you, and also our next steps is one of our next steps is, and I think it's actually hard. We need to get together with the policymakers in each country. That was one of the goals that the Center of this Sustainable Development Goals Center was promoting. Once the research is over, we need to get together with these policymakers and establish some collaboration with them in order to provide them with these insights about how they have to design public policies, or what they have to include public policies, because they actually know how to design public policies, but we are not sure if they are aware of everything they will have to include in order to accomplish or to fulfill every stakeholder's expectations in the country. And Amelia said, I'm inspired with the approach of the worst approach scenario, but when I saw your worst case example with no future, that should make people realize that the only way out is through supporting SDGs. I think our participants in the workshop had the opportunity to reflect together in these different futures, and actually putting them under this scenario number 3, that is the worst of the scenarios, was very challenging, because all the contributions were in the first place were to the the positive scenarios and the moderate scenarios. As
Mhm.
we were saying at the beginning of the meeting, right? You
Mhm.
know, we will always used to, and we prefer to think about positive, but I think it's a very different, it's a huge difference between thinking positively and actually prevent of this. I mean, being aware of the negative scenarios are possible to take place. So yes, it was quite challenging. They were at the first place, they were like contributing just in the positive scenarios, and this scenario were easy for them. But after we encourage them to talk about the negative scenario, they find themselves in a very richful conversation. And or of course, we need to moderate that sessions, because since we have government representatives, we have business representatives, and we have like these social civility, civil society representatives, we have this kind of confrontations in some parts of the workshops, you know, and we need to moderate among them in order to continue the discussion in a good way. But yes, to put people to think about the worst scenario is always challenging and difficult, and this was reflected in our workshops. And Kathy told us your presentation highlights all the issues that every country in the world should address based on their unique geographical locations. Yes, that's right. I think it begins with education first, shifting mindsets to simply 5-10 double steps that each individual must do to be inclusive and participative in transforming to new world order, sustainable, fair, and respectful of the planet and all the species. Yes, you're right. I agree, Kathy. I strongly agree. You know, and one of the main constraints maybe in our country is that we found some limitations to reinforce or to adapt some public policies, because, for instance, the corruption level in our countries are huge. You know, it's we have a lot of corruption here, different types of corruption, and this is probably the biggest stone in our way in order, for instance, to develop a good educational system. Yeah.
Miguel, I think one of the key things that's worrisome is, you know, you talked about, you know, the pre-COVID, post-COVID thing era that we're talking about, and you're talking about the hoping I don't know, I guess to kindle the people to think about worst case scenarios. I hope, you know, it's almost like maybe the worst case scenario has to happen for things to truly break down, for people to in fact really wake up, because it looks like now with economies opening up everywhere that things are just going to go back to business as usual. You know, the same old consumerism, the capitalist elites driving you to keep buying more and more, and nothing is going to change. People just are just going to fall back into their old ways of doing things. So, I mean, I think it's a horrible thing to say, but it is almost like until and unless we have a real breakdown of the old system, including the corrupt systems, and what you're saying, this corruption has to break. How does it break, right? It has to collapse. Only then people will rise, and instead of just following what, you know, people, I mean, governments mandating whatever it is that they're mandating at the moment, not getting to the truth of the problem. The issue is still being hidden by media, by all kinds of corrupt systems that's shielding the corruption, isn't it? For things to continue as normal, because there's so much at stake there. So much money there, right, to be made still. And that's what it is all about. It is about the last point that you made is about extracting. Is this extracting mentality that the planet is here for us to plunder and to use and for our gains, instead of respecting it as part of who we are. And all the indigenous cultures that have been decimated by the colonialism that you mentioned, you know, that has to be brought back to the psyche and the mindset of the communities to remember how we existed at one time, as one, respecting one another, as a connected being in this world, not just a doer who's there to plunder and use this planet for gains, right? So,
Kathy, I need to interrupt you because we have 2 minutes to go.
Yeah.
So Miguel, if you want to address the last question.
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you. And thank you, Kathy. About populism in Latin America, yeah, the consequences could be devastating, because populism is like a more individual way to see things. I mean, it includes not just an individual thing to see things, but also a short-term way to do things. So if we have this kind of politicians, and that they are trying to reinforce this kind of populism current in Latin America, we are going to just develop short-term initiatives for small groups. What we need to do is to embrace somewhat that transcend this populism in the region, and to think about a collective action. We need to this regeneration needs for a collective action in the region and in each country, and of course to begin to think about long term. It's necessary, because the detriment of climate change is, I mean, step by step, but the consequences will be in the long term, the big consequences. And if we do not think in this long term, yeah, we are going to have serious problems. I mean, this is I think this is the big challenge to get rid of the populism.
Well, thank you so much, Miguel. This was a very inspiring, very interesting conversation. And if you would like to send us a few citations afterwards, you can send them to me, and I will post it on Mobilize together with the video, and also send it specifically to the people that were attending this session, so you all get it. Maybe just as a closing, if everybody can say one word about how you're feeling at this moment, since it was very silent. I was struggling. I think next time I will make a combination, asking people to write the question, but to read it out loud so that we hear the voices. I think the voices are so powerful. And at the same time, I like that you got so many questions. So maybe I can do a combination of both. But so just to hear your voices, if you mute yourself and just say a couple of words, how you're feeling, not too many because we are over the hour. Amelia?
Yeah, I'm glad I finally can join. It's such an exciting topic. Thank you, Miguel.
Yeah. And Kathy?
thank you, Miguel. It was, I love the fact that you combine all the different stakeholders into the workshop. I think that kind of collaborative way is a good start, at least, yeah.
Griselda, before you run.
Yes. I will celebrate just to be part of that group of countries that they're working towards the climate change. Yes, so we are going to be in touch.
Yeah, and I was thinking we were all of the global south today, well, except Marina, who was from Germany, but all the others we were from the global south. Interesting.
And also I am in charge of a PhD in political science, so it's going to be a very interesting issue. Yes, that's it.
Yolande, any comments?
Isabel, thanks, Miguel. That was so interesting. I just once again realized how interlinked the SDGs are. You know, your research on climate change and how it's interrelated with economic recovery, food security, etc., etc. And thinking very much these days of how to package our teaching and learning to really bring across these to train a mindset that is very conscious all the time of how everything is interlinked.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And I had a similar feeling that you were not just doing this work for these countries, 7 countries, but I think that is material for the whole global South, because there are so many similarities. So I look forward to reading that book, and I hope it gets a lot of readers everywhere. So thank you very much, everybody. I will put the recording online. Thank you, Miguel, for this awesome session. And we
Thank you
will
very
put
much.
it that everybody can hear it.